Around 260,000 Holocaust survivors live in Israel today, a third of which are living in poverty. Many of the survivors do not know how to receive rights owed them. An organization was founded in 2007 in order to grant them the professional knowledge and guidance necessary to enable them to live in dignity.
There still are many Holocaust survivors living among us today, but it turns out that many of them aren't aware of their rights.
Today there are around 250,000 survivors still alive in Israel. From our experience, 1 out of 3 survivors are actually not getting what they're entitled to. We're talking about monthly compensations or other benefits that are available. Today there are around 15 different programs available for Holocaust survivors to get the help. And most of the survivors are not aware of all the programs. Not only the survivors, but also the social workers and the families of the survivors are not aware of these programs. And in many cases, it means that the survivors are still living in very bad conditions when they're actually able to get thousands of shekels every month.
For 16 years, social worker Aviv Zilberman helped Holocaust survivors as a volunteer at an old age home. Aviva speaks German, and her experience with the survivors brought her, together with her husband, to establish a non-for-profit organization.
And almost 2 years ago, I told my wife that it's enough working the way she's working, and now we have to spread the Torah and go out and teach the social workers and the families and the survivors themselves what they're entitled to. During the years, my wife was working with the Holocaust survivors on a one-by-one way of going. She met thousands of survivors, but it's still not as effective as going out and teaching other people. In 2008, we have trained around 1,500 people with the rights, and now they go out and help survivors.
The group is funded on private donations and does not expect government support in the near future.
We help survivors to get much more money from the government. It's not always in the government's interest to support organizations like this. We have many cases where we help survivors getting thousands of shekel every month from the government. So for the government to go out one hand and support us to get more money from the government, it's not always so simple.
The state has founded an information center for the survivors, but the bureaucracy sometimes causes the survivors and their family members to give up their efforts at acquiring their rights.
One of the interesting cases is there are around 40,000 survivors today that are receiving a monthly compensation from the government based on the agreement that Ben-Gurion did with the Germans in 1953. These 40,000 survivors are actually entitled to get free medical treatments, but they have to ask for this. Okay. Out of 40,000, only 10,000 are actually getting this every month. So 30,000 Holocaust survivors are paying for their medical treatments, although they are entitled to get it for free.
It was very hard for me. I had to pay the old age home, and I didn't have enough money. And they helped me and told me that I could go to a doctor to help me receive what I deserve. Aviva sat with me a long time to tell me exactly what I could do.
ידענו שיש ועדה רפואית, אבל הוא לא היה במצב של רצון בכלל לגשת לזה, הוא היה כבר בכזה דיכאון.
We knew that there was the possibility of coming before a medical committee, but my uncle never had the willpower. Following the consultation, we approached the committee, and his disability was reassessed, and he was able to fund his stay in the old age home.
יכולנו לממן לו פה את השהייה.
The organization calls on relatives of survivors to notify them of the possibility of assistance.
We can only help the 10,000 of survivors that are today entitled to get more than they're getting today. We can only help them with your help. When you go out and help them, we cannot do this work on our own. And that's why we have a very informative website where you can get this information. Go out to the people. We cannot reach all the 250,000 survivors ourselves, but you can. You can reach your neighbors and your friends and your families, the old people you're next to in the Beit Knesset or in the grocery. You can reach them and help them. This is the way, the only way that we can reach these people and help them to get life in dignity, which they are so much entitled to.
I knew I had rights, but every door was closed in my face. They sent me from one place to another. Thanks to the organization, I succeeded and I can get my own pension.